When you hear the word angels, what comes to mind? Maybe it's the radiant beings with wings we see in paintings, or maybe it's the idea of a protector watching over us. For centuries, angels have held a special place in human imagination. They've been described as messengers of God, guardians, or even symbols of divine intervention. But what if angels aren't just figures from religious stories? What if there's something much closer to us, part of the foundation of existence? To explore this, we need to start with what's at the root of everything: the higher mind. The higher mind is not just something out there or separate from us. It is everything. Without it, we would not exist, and we would have no experience. The higher mind is the pure, intelligent awareness behind all being, the foundation of all consciousness. It's the intelligence that allows everything to function, from the smallest particle to the vastness of the universe. It is the essence of all life, the fundamental force that drives all perception and understanding. It is not something we merely tap into occasionally. It is the very awareness we are, the force that makes everything possible. Everything we experience, every thought, feeling, and sensation, emerges from this higher mind. Without it, there would be no us, no awareness, no world to perceive. It is the origin of all that is, and everything exists within it. This isn't magic, it's connection. The higher mind is the ultimate source of awareness, and when we tap into it, we're accessing something bigger than ourselves. Now, let's bring this back to angels. Ancient cultures didn't have the same language we do to explain things like universal consciousness or higher intelligence. They relied on symbols and metaphors to describe forces they could feel but not fully explain. Angels, with their wings and radiant forms, were one way they tried to capture the essence of something that felt divine and protective. But in reality, angels are thought forms created by the higher mind. They aren't separate beings floating around somewhere. They're expressions of universal intelligence, designed to help us in ways we can understand. Think of them as a way the higher mind communicates with us directly, whether we're aware of it or not. So how do these thought forms show up in our lives? Not in booming voices or miraculous displays, at least, not usually. Instead, they work through the subtle and the familiar. Have you ever had a moment where an idea or realization just popped into your mind, and it felt like exactly the answer you needed? Or maybe you felt a persistent nudge to do something, even though it didn't make logical sense at the time? That's how these angelic thought forms often communicate, with gentle guidance that feels like it comes from within. Sometimes it's a sudden clarity about a problem you've been struggling with. Other times, it's that little voice urging you to take a different route home or reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. It might even be a recurring feeling you can't shake, as if something is trying to get your attention. These messages are always working for our greater good. The higher mind doesn't operate out of ego or selfishness. It's always aligned with our best interests, even if we don't realize it at the time. The ancients didn't have science or psychology to explain these experiences, so they turned to imagery and symbolism. Angels with wings represent the idea of transcendence, something that lifts us out of our ordinary, earthly experience. Their glowing forms symbolize higher awareness. These aren't just random artistic choices, they're attempts to explain something universal in a way people could understand. By recognizing angels as thought forms from the higher mind, we're not dismissing these symbols. Instead, we're uncovering their deeper meaning. They remind us that the universe is always communicating with us, always guiding us toward what we need to learn or understand. What's amazing about all of this is how interconnected it makes everything feel. The higher mind isn't just out there in the cosmos, working independently of us. It's part of us, part of the same universal intelligence that creates these angelic thought forms to guide and protect us. When we open ourselves up to this understanding, the world starts to feel less random and more intentional. We begin to see that these moments of guidance, whether they come as thoughts, feelings, or even synchronicities, are all part of a greater system working to help us grow. Angels, then, aren't distant beings. They're reminders of our connection to this universal consciousness. They show us that we're never truly alone and that there's always a guiding presence helping us find our way, even in the toughest times. So the next time you feel a nudge, a whisper of intuition, or an insight that seems to come out of nowhere, consider this. It might just be the higher mind, reaching out in a way you can understand. And whether you call it an angel, a thought form, or simply a message from the universe, know that it's there for one reason: to guide you toward your highest good. By understanding the higher mind and its angelic expressions, we not only gain a new perspective on these ancient symbols, but also deepen our connection to the intelligence that creates and sustains everything. It's a connection we all share, one that's always working to bring us back to our true selves.